That sound that you hear is house generators. There are a couple of them around us. And you might ask yourself, well, gee, why didn't you install a house generator or get a gas-powered Jenny? Well, as my other neighbor who has a gas-powered Jenny discovered, you need gas. Not that there's a shortage of gas, it's just that there's no power for a lot of the gas stations. So gas is in limited supply, long lines to get to it if they don't run out before you get your turn. And so that doesn't seem to be a viable option. Putting in a house generator gets very expensive, usually by a factor of about 2 from the purchase of the unit to its installation and interfacing with your home. So for us, because generally when we have an outage, we're talking 30 minutes, maybe 3 hours, so they're quite manageable. This is an extreme case. You see our pole up there has been bent, and the tree, the power pole, you see the tree that's leaning that way? Power pole is going straight up and down, and that isn't there anymore. Everything's on the ground, lots of power structure damage in the area. So for us, using the car as a portable generator and basically as a car most of the time seemed like a good, viable option for us. And so far it's worked out rather well, I'm happy to say. It's been 1 week and 1 day. Car's been running constantly since then. We're down to about a quarter tank of gas. So the question is, how do you refill the car with gas when you're tethered and supplying energy to the house? Do you end up disconnecting the refrigerator? The answer is no if you have one of these. This is a battery pack, and this one will run this refrigerator for up to 6 hours. So that should be plenty of time for us to go out, get additional fuel, some supplies, and then come back, switch over to the car for power, and then recharge that battery using the car. Today is October 7th, and the Canadian Cavalry has shown up. This crew here has already put up a utility pole adjacent to our property, and they're working the entire strip down to the end of the neighborhood. And they're doing a fantastic job. We're told that we might have power tonight, but probably we'll have it for sure tomorrow morning. Trees like this along the backside of the homes are the reasons why all the lines and poles came down. Here's another crew getting ready to deploy. Almost every home has a utility truck in front of it as a effort to put in poles and lines so that we can reestablish service in this area. One of the guys was telling me that it's very hard for them because they've never seen this kind of devastation. It takes a toll on the crews, but they are amazing. They're putting in 3 poles just in this section alone. Along with utility crews, we also have tree removal experts who have to come in and clear the way before the linemen can come in and do their work. It is Monday, October 7th, and we have power thanks to our Canadian friends from Brunswick who came out here and planted new poles, ran power lines, hooked up the utilities. This means the Prius, which has been supplying us with power for taking a hot shower, running some lights, recharging batteries, can now be returned to its function as just a normal automobile. As you can see, we're over half a tank, so it used almost a tank of fuel for the duration of this outage, which is pretty cool. Plus we did a little bit of driving in between, but had no issues with it. We did notice that even though we were just running the shower and the refrigerator and maybe 1 or 2 little lights, the inverter would get nice and toasty, actually kind of hot. And we were only pulling about 80 watts at the most, really kept it low. but that just seems to be the way the inverter works. Anyway, so now my wife will come over here and disconnect that because she's learned that procedure in case I'm not available to do it. And then we'll unplug and we'll go back to being in the 21st century with electricity. We used a Mylar blanket up on the windshield to cut down on solar radiation heating up the car, which of course held the DC to AC inverter. As we start and continue with cleanup, putting away power cords, etc., we're also going to assess what worked and what didn't work in our prep plan. Things that worked in our plan: fueling up the vehicles before the storm arrived. This eliminated the need for us having to search for fuel when most of the gas stations did not have power and therefore couldn't pump. Stocking up on water allowed us to have drinking water when we did lose our local municipal water system. Having an emergency radio not only kept us informed about the impending storm, but afterwards gave us up-to-date information on what services were available and what road conditions were like. Now, while most of us get our TV via the internet or cable system, when all those failed, we still had an external antenna that we could watch local news and get information about what was going on in our area. And as you've seen, the use of the Prius as a backup generator worked wonderfully for us. It covered us for a total of 10 days while we waited for power to be restored. Prepping food beforehand. In our case, I was only able to make some protein bars and boil a couple of eggs, but those things came in really handy when we got hungry. Our portable power station allowed us to run the refrigerator, plus it backed up the vehicle when we had to take our Prius out and go for supplies. Some board games and books kept us entertained and busy during the nighttime hours when there was nothing else to do. Finally, the camp stove came in really handy because we were actually able to cook some of the food in the refrigerator for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Things that didn't work out so well was not having enough cash on hand. Everything was cash-based only because there was no internet, there was no cell service, so credit cards were just not handy. You needed cash to buy food, to buy fuel, and unfortunately for us, we only had about $40 cash between the two of us, and that wasn't enough. And no, the ATMs and the banks weren't open because they too did not have power. So therefore, it's important to have a cash reserve that you can easily access to buy those things. Another fail was the lack of paper goods. Yes, we have plates and forks and utensils, but when you don't have any water, you can't wash them. That's where paper plates and plastic spoons and forks come in, and we just didn't have enough of those on hand. Sanitary wipes, hygiene wipes come in really handy when you can't flush your toilet, when you just need to wash up because there is no running water. While I did prep some boiled eggs and protein bars prior to the storm, we didn't really take advantage of that time to prepare other meals that could have been stored in the refrigerator and then eaten as we needed. And therefore, at some point, we ended up relying on MREs and outside sources for food. When we had plenty of food in the house, it just needed to be prepared. So if you have advance notice, take advantage of that time to prepare some things, because the ability to have your own home-cooked meals will actually help you with the stress of dealing with these post-emergency situations. And this may sound silly, but quarters for laundry. When the laundromats on the main strip opened up, they couldn't accept credit cards because there was still no internet, still no cell service, so the machines would only accept quarters, and those were in short supply. Now, this is by no means an inclusive list of the things you should and shouldn't do, but you could prepare your own list by either going to ready.gov kit or to the redcross.org, where you can get more information about creating your own emergency list. I hope none of you ever have to go through any type of an emergency, but it's always best to be prepared. If you found this video interesting or useful, give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, join the subscription team, And as always, thank you ever so much for watching.